It is a rather astonishing thing to consider when you really stop to think about it. For an awfully long time, our planet spun through the cosmos quite happily, without anyone on it building a shopping mall or worrying about their taxes. Our human story, the one that leads directly to you sitting here reading this very sentence, is a surprisingly recent and rather hurried affair. We are going on a short countdown, a journey back through the pivotal moments that took us from being just another upright primate to the architects of civilization. Okay, let's go. Our countdown begins at number 10, with the humble stone tool. For millions of years, our ancestors made do with what nature provided. Around 2.5 million years ago, a clever hominid figured out controlled rock fracturing. Close up, striking a stone to produce flakes and a sharp edge. This was the Oldowan chopper, the Swiss Army knife of the Paleolithic. It could butcher a carcass. It could crack open a bone for marrow. It could sharpen a stick into a spear. This wasn't just a new tool, it was a new way of thinking. For the first time, we weren't just using the world, we were shaping it to our will. An elder shows napping technique to a young apprentice, passing on knowledge. Next, at number 9, we harness a force of nature, the control of fire. Wildfires were terrifying, destructive events, but someone decided to capture the flame, carrying ember or creating sparks. Learning to create and sustain fire was utterly transformative. It provided warmth, allowing us to survive ice ages and migrate into colder climates. It offered protection, keeping nocturnal predators at bay. Most importantly, it gave us cooking. Cooked food is safer. Cooked food is easier to digest. Cooked food releases more energy. That extra energy may have fueled the development of our famously oversized brains. Around the flickering light of a hearth, we also found a social center, a place to share food and stories. At number 8 on our list is something you are using right now, spoken language. It's tricky to pinpoint when grunts and gestures blossomed into complex grammar, but once they did, humanity gained a superpower. Language allows for the precise transmission of complex information. You can explain how to make a stone tool without a lengthy demonstration. You can coordinate a group to hunt a mammoth far more effectively. You can pass down knowledge, history, and beliefs from one generation to the next. A leader could now articulate a plan. A parent could issue a warning. A storyteller could weave a myth that binds a tribe together. It was the birth of teamwork and tradition on a scale never seen before. Finally, in this early period, at number 7, we have the simple but profound innovations of clothing and shelter. Life on the open savanna was precarious, subject to the whims of weather and the threat of predators. The invention of the needle, often made of bone, allowed our ancestors to stitch animal hides together into fitted clothing, providing essential insulation against the cold. At the same time, we moved from seeking temporary refuge in caves to constructing our own deliberate shelters, huts made from mammoth bones, shelters using wood frames, and walls and roofs covered with hides. These creations provided a safe, stable home base, a place to raise vulnerable young and care for the sick. A family, huddled in a sturdy, skin-covered hut during a raging blizzard, was a testament to human resilience and foresight. You know, it's remarkable. The revolution continues at number 6, with a truly world-altering idea: farming. For 99% of our history, we were wanderers, hunter-gatherers, following the herds and the seasons. Then, about 12,000 years ago, in several places around the world, we began to experiment cultivating plants, domesticating animals. Instead of finding food, we started making it. This is the Neolithic Revolution. It was backbreaking work, but it offered a previously unimaginable reward: a food surplus. For the first time, a small community could produce more food than it immediately needed. This simple fact would change everything about how humans lived, creating the very concept of a permanent home. This new way of life leads us directly to milestone number 5, pottery and storage. If you have a surplus of grain from your first successful harvest, you have a new and pressing problem. Where do you put it? Leaving it in a pile is a grand invitation to rodents, insects, rot. The invention of pottery solved this. Firing clay into hard, durable vessels created containers that protected food stores from spoilage and pests. It allowed a community to plan for the future, to save food for winter or drought. A family could look at a row of sealed clay pots filled with grain and feel a sense of security their ancestors never knew. It was the birth of long-term planning. With farming and food storage came a radical shift in our social structures. Before, groups were small and mobile, but agriculture tethered us to the land. This led to the rise of permanent villages, which would slowly grow into the first towns. People lived in larger, denser communities, often surrounded by strangers rather than just extended kin. New ways of organizing society were needed: settling disputes, managing shared resources like water for irrigation. The farmer's field wasn't just a source of food, it was an anchor that held society in place. Life became less about moving and more about building. Staying put allowed accumulation of not just food, but possessions. You could own a sturdy house, heavy grinding stones, elaborate pottery. This led to concepts like property, inheritance, and social inequality. It also allowed specialization. Not everyone had to farm. Some became potters, some weavers, some builders, some priests. Division of labor made communities more efficient and dynamic, paving the way for complex economic and social systems. The simple act of planting a seed had, in time, resewn the entire fabric of human society. Our countdown accelerates as we reach number 4, the wheel. It is difficult to overstate the importance of this perfectly simple invention, which appeared around 3,500 BCE. Curiously, its first use wasn't for transport, but for pottery. Pottery on a wheel allowed faster, more uniform production. Once turned on its side and attached to an axle, the wheel mobilized humanity. Carts and wagons could move heavy loads, grain-stone trade goods far more easily than a person or pack animal. This expanded the scale of everything. A farmer could sell surplus at a distant market. An army could be supplied on the march. It began a connected world, shrinking distances, trade, migration, exchange of ideas. Next, number 3, metalworking. For millennia, we used stone, wood, bone. Then came greenish ore heated in a hot fire, weeping shiny liquid, copper. We unlocked metallurgy, smelting ores and casting metal. Alloy copper with tin and you get bronze. Bronze tools, sharper and more durable. Bronze plows, more effective. Bronze weapons, deadlier. Later, the mastery of iron, more abundant, even stronger, would be another leap. The world was becoming much more complicated. Farmers trading grain for metal tools, kings tracking tribute, merchants making deals across distances. How could you keep track of it all? This problem leads us to our runner-up at number 2, writing. What began as simple pictograms to record bushels of wheat jars of oil slowly evolved into complex scripts that could represent sounds. This was a revolution in data storage. For the first time, human knowledge could exist outside a human brain. Laws could be codified, histories recorded, a message could be sent without the messenger needing to memorize it. A simple mark on a clay tablet could hold a contract, a poem, a king's decree. These 3 inventions, the wheel, metal, and writing, acted as powerful catalysts for each other. The wheel allowed for the transport of heavy metal ores and finished goods. Metal tools allowed stonemasons to carve more intricate written records. Writing allowed for the administration of increasingly complex trade networks and kingdoms. Imagine a Mesopotamian merchant. He uses a wheeled cart to transport bronze plows to a neighboring city. He finalizes the deal with a contract impressed in cuneiform on a clay tablet. In this one scene, you see the synergy of these great innovations, setting the stage for our final milestone. And so we arrive at number 1 on our countdown: cities and laws, the culmination of all the progress that came before. As agricultural villages grew, fed by metal plows and connected by wheeled carts, they swelled into something entirely new: the city. This was more than just a big town. It was a crucible of humanity. For the first time, huge numbers of people who were not related to each other had to learn to live and work together in a confined space. This created an explosion of new professions: merchants, soldiers, priests, artists, scribes, rulers. The city became a humming engine of innovation, where ideas could be exchanged and refined with incredible speed. Of course, cramming thousands of strangers together creates a whole new set of problems. How do you settle disputes over property? How do you ensure public works, like irrigation canals or defensive walls, are built and maintained? The answer was the invention of formal laws and government. Rulers like Hammurabi of Babylon codified comprehensive sets of laws, written down for all to see, establishing rules for commerce, crime, and social conduct. This was a monumental shift from relying on village elders or tribal custom. It was the idea that a society could be governed by abstract principles, providing a framework for order and stability that allowed cities to grow even larger and more powerful. With cities came the flowering of what we now call culture and science on a grand scale. The concentration of people and resources administered by a state allowed for monumental architecture like pyramids and ziggurats. It funded the systematic study of the stars for calendrical and religious purposes, giving birth to astronomy and mathematics. It created a market for art, literature, and music. The temple, the palace, the marketplace, and the library of the ancient city were the institutions that would shape human thought for thousands of years. They were the places where we began to collectively ask the big questions about our universe and our place within it. From a sharpened stone to a sprawling city, our countdown is complete. Each step, from controlling fire to writing laws, was a solution to a problem. But each solution created a new, more complex reality, which in turn demanded even more ingenious solutions. This chain reaction of discovery is the story of civilization. It's a story that hasn't ended. Today we build on these ancient foundations, using digital code instead of cuneiform, and building global networks instead of wagon roads. But the fundamental human impulse remains the same: to observe, to innovate, to share, and to build a better, more organized world. It is our species' single greatest project, and it continues with every new idea we dare to pursue.